I don't know.
I was like,
Sometimes it'll bounce around,
oh,
and
that's
sometimes I like click
right.
on the face, I think. I'm
Oh
so
yeah,
sorry if it
no.
did that.
It's okay. It was just like, oh, I did not want to see that.
Yeah, sometimes it's like on my face forever too. So,
Oh wow.
hmm. I wish they had like a fourth picture we could put it on, and that's like what we're working. I don't know.
Oh. I
Or
can click
someone
on
could just,
Suzette and Suzette comes up. That's weird.
hmm.
Huh, I don't know. Oh well. I'm okay if it's just, your face. All right. So what do you guys think about the
Ha, I could, that's cool. I didn't know I could do that. I could force
yeah.
everyone to have a picture.
Yeah,
We could all have pictures.
we
Oh, I can't
could.
do it.
There's
Ah,
mine.
ah, there we go.
Isn't that funny? Yep.
That's weird. Anyways,
Too funny.
okay.
Where did that go?
That's just a picture of her.
Yeah, I know.
Hmm.
Can you fix
Can,
her?
is she like glitching out again?
I don't know.
Hold on. Can you hear
You're
me?
still. We
Yeah.
can. Yeah, we just see your picture. We don't see your. Yeah.
There we go.
Hmm. Okay. So we're recording. Oh, she's gonna restart her computer. Are you gonna restart your computer, Suzette? Oh yeah, she is. Maybe stop the. Wait. Can we stop and start the recording?
I don't know if we can do that.
That's all right. We can just leave it.
Usually, I
Leave
think it
it
would just
back.
make two separate ones. I don't know. Maybe it'll make the same one.
That's all right. We don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm reading our assignment. The title of this unit is Ethics, but according to the article you just read, at least in the case of auditors, teaching auditors about ethics will not have an impact on bias. The authors suggest education that helps auditors understand the unconscious errors they make and the reason they make them. For business students and others who will not be auditors, what kind of education, if any, will help future business professionals avoid bias? Ooh,
Okay.
that's really tough. I don't know. We'll
I
wait for
thought,
Suzette.
okay. Are we gonna wait or we can talk about it, I guess?
We can talk about it and just catch up, I guess. What were you
Okay.
gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna start talking about it. Um, well, I thought it was really interesting. So, about the very beginning, they talk about like what is biasy and how it kind of works in our brain. And
Mm-hmm.
then they gave us some well, like they kind of categorized it too. Ambiguity. And then you
Ambiguity.
had it,
Uh-huh.
yeah, attachment, approval, familiarity. And yeah, so there's those categories. Oh, and escalation too. And so that's kind of like each one was like unique. Now I didn't like some of them I never thought would be biased, but they were. Like if you were more familiar with this subject, you were going to be biased towards that subject. And I didn't really know that. And there's a few other things.
I think it's kind of human nature.
Yeah, it definitely
So how
definitely
do
is.
you teach humans to overcome their human nature when it comes to bias? That's a really
Well,
interesting
at the
question.
very end, yeah, like well, at the very end, the author states that the only way accountants could not be biased is if they had no incentive to be biased.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. That and maybe there's no familiarity. I think it would be a little bit more than that. But yeah, I think that's a very
Well,
good point.
yeah, well, he's stating just like, so for accountants, they usually work for a firm, and this firm like will fire you or hire you, like, get your promotion raises if you're more biased, towards that company, if you do like a better job at
Mhm.
like crunching the numbers.
Mhm.
And so that creates bias, and that's like our main bias in our like world, because most of the time accountant doesn't probably care about what company they're doing the numbers for. They just care about what incentives like they're going to give them. If that kind of makes sense, like their job.
It does. So Suzette, just to catch up, we were looking at that first paragraph in our preparation. It
Okay.
says the title of this unit is ethics, and according to the article, the auditors tend to be biased for different reasons. He was going over some of the different types of biases. Um,
Mhm.
and the author suggests that education would help them be less biased if they're taught about ethics, but it won't have an impact on bias. So how do you see what kind of education, if any, would help future business professionals avoid bias, and or is it pointless? So did you have a thought about that you wanted to add, or?
Um, so what was it that Dustin said about that?
Oh, I just said that the only way that accountants cannot be biased is if they had no incentive to be biased. So like they don't have to worry about their job, promotions, anything that deals with like them getting more money or less money
Or that they might lose
on the work that
that
they're doing.
company, yeah, as a
Yeah.
client.
Yeah, as
So
a client.
if you're wanting to, if you're an auditor and you're going in and you're auditing a company, and certain companies have to be audited in order to stay compliant with regulations,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
like school districts. They have to go through certain audits. Has to be voluntary, although it's kind of not. But you can pick your auditing firm, and they can come in and audit you. But if you've got an auditing firm that's always, I suppose, if they're nitpicking you to death, you may look for other firms. But then if you've got somebody that's super, doesn't find a lot of stuff or easy, you might keep them because they're easy. So on the flip side, from the auditor side, they get paid by their clients. So where do you fall? Do you go in and genuinely audit, or do you go in and kind of sketch the numbers? Not so much the numbers, but a bias of seeing it in a certain light. Because there was one example in the article that talked about how you would think that they would come up with a formula where it couldn't be 2 cents more or 2 cents less. That would be right on. And there's somewhere said that it was kind of an art.
Mm-hmm. I remember reading that.
Yeah, that was a really great example. That no, it depends on how you put the formulas together.
I like
So,
the tax example they had.
but oh yeah, oh my gosh.
I was like, what?
Like I want the names of everybody there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a
So
huge difference.
everybody's opinion is different.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
Crazy. So I don't know. So what do you want to add about this question? For business students and others who will not be auditors, what kind of education, if any, will help future business professionals avoid bias? How do you do that?
I would say, um, one way I've seen that I'm biased is I tend to side more with the people I know better and that I'm more loyal to, even if they're completely wrong. I still want to defend them because they're my friends or my family. And so I think in some ways you need some humility to know that
Oh, humility, good word.
people you're going to be loyal to may not always be correct, or your clients may not always be correct, and that you just need to set this standard of even if you want them to be right, they may not always be. That did not come out very nicely. Hold on. Hold on, let me see if I can pull that up. That's kind of what I wrote about my example thing there.
Oh, maybe I didn't do my example right.
Well, I kind of wanted to be an auditor or like do taxes. So this is like totally up my, like this is what I want to go into.
Really?
And so, yeah, I want to be an accountant, CPA. So that's like taxes or
My
like
sister-in-law, that's what she does. She's a tax CPA.
All right. Yeah. So this is totally like, I think bias is totally, and ethics is totally like for an accountant. And I've talked to some people. I'm like, what makes a good CPA? And they're like, I want the honest guy that is able to fudge the numbers. That's really what it comes down to. And it's like, all right. And then I asked my dad like how he files his taxes. And it's like, it's interesting because, you know, everyone's got to pick the numbers, you know. Yeah, you can say this, but did you actually do that? Like, it's so hard. And I'm taking an accounting class right now. And yeah, there is like standard, like there's so little like details. And I don't know if you guys taking accounting 201.
Not yet.
It's just the beginning. And it's really hard because every little thing is counted for and like they just go in detail. And then I believe like 301, the more advanced you go, the more detail it goes into.
Oh
Just
dear.
like depreciation, it like you gotta know like this depreciates like this and that depreciates like that. And so yeah, we have all these numbers and they're all like standard. But at the same time, you know, how do you fudge in, you know, which way? There's like different accounting ways, which was interesting. You can do it this way and you just state that you did it this way. But the other way probably would have been more honest. You see what I mean?
Yeah, you know, we had an assignment in my other class. I wonder if I can find it. That I'm gonna move your guys' screen so I can look. And it was really interesting because they gave us a problem and there was 3 ways to find an answer. And the answer was close. It was really close. But they were all a little bit different, and I could see how that would. Here it is. Hold on, and I'll share it with you guys if you want. It is my my B211 class. So return on equity. There's 3 different ways you can calculate it. Oh, sorry. I guess you want me to share the screen. Actually share it, right? Okay. Can you see it?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so return on equity can be calculated 3 ways. And if you ran the numbers way out, you could see that they were a little bit different. That like net profit divided by total equity, return on assets times leverage, return on sales times asset turnover times leverage, and they're all similar but different. So, I mean, you're getting the same answer, return on equity, but it's slightly different each one. So I could see how, depending on your end result, what it was would be the best for maybe your client. this could, maybe in a tax situation, you would pick the number that would be most beneficial.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It seems like a small thing, but that surprised me.
I find it interesting how there's always 3 or 2 ways of doing something, and the accounting
Yeah,
world.
yeah. So, and this is right up your alley if this is where you're going.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'll get rid of that. But I just thought that was interesting with what you guys were talking about just now. Anyway, okay. So let's see, what kind of education? In my opinion, I think kind of what we're learning about right now, I think learning about ethics, learning about honesty, integrity, and then maybe putting people in a situation that would force a bias out of them or have biases develop. That way you could go, hey, look, this is the situation we put you in, and here's a bias that you naturally had. And so, be careful because anybody can fall into a bias trap.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Now, I also think biases, well, sometimes they're natural, sometimes it's also a choice. So they would have to just be careful. What kind of a CPA do you want to be? Are you going to be, honest and be ethical, or are you going to try to please your client? Because if that client gets taken in his tax returns reviewed or his paperwork's reviewed, then whoever did all of that would have to go into court with him, right?
Hmm.
So I don't know. Anyway,
Well,
shall we go
even the
into the?
little things. Oh,
No,
I'll
what were you
just
gonna
mention
say?
this. Oh, just a little comment on being biased and stuff. Well, it's even like the little things that you could be so biased on. I remember working as a cashier, and like the people who would like pay attention and like say like, "Oh, what's that price? What's this price?" I'd be like more cautious and more like if they said it was actually like 275 instead of like $3, I would give them the 275. I would like price override it and stuff. But like if they weren't like that, I'd just like just ring it up and then that was it. Like they'd end up paying a lot more. I just
Where
didn't
did you
care.
work?
At Burlum's.
What is
It's a
that?
grocery store here.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
But yeah, like I it kind of shocked me because I never looked at like cashiers in the past as being like biased. I always thought they just it didn't matter what you said or how you acted, they're just gonna give you the same price, right? But I'm surely it's if you said like, hey, I wanted, it said it was 275 instead of $3, then they'd give you the 275 probably. It's like it's a little difference, but yeah. Well, especially at that store because it was just a store that like never has the prices right. So a lot of it was true. I know it was true. So I just like give them the price and that was it.
Like, oh yeah, everything's marked terrible. What were you saying, Suzette?
I was saying, yeah, there's definitely some bias in that.
Yeah,
Anyways.
definitely bias in that. Wow, I never thought about that. All right. Do you want to add anything else to that first little bullet, or shall we go on to the next subject?
Yeah, you could go on next subject.
Yeah.
Do you guys have it up? I
Yeah.
can just read it. Okay, so the author suggests that the status quo, the universally accepted practice in the United States of how audit firms are hired, paid, and work with companies they audit, results in bad audits. Do you agree? And why do you think when Congress passed the Sarbanes-Oxley, hope I'm saying that right, Act, there were
Sarbanes.
Sarbanes?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's better. I don't know where I'm from.
It's okay. I just
There
hear
weren't.
this act all the time.
Oh, you do? There
Yeah.
weren't more radical reforms like the one suggested by the author. So, there you go. So, do we agree?
Do you guys know what the Sarbanes-Oxley Act is?
Not exactly. I'm not sure I completely understand it.
No.
Do you?
Ah,
Do you want to
yeah.
explain it to us?
I kind of understand the origin and everything. So when the 2008, stock market crashed, and then you had Enron and
Oh, yeah.
some other bank or something, they're all scamming. And I
Yeah.
know it affected one of the huge accounting firms because they were in charge of we used to have a big five. There used to be five big firms in the United States. And these firms had like 90% of the clients in the
Wow.
United States. So yeah, these are five big, humongous firms. Now we only have four because the other one got caught up in 2008 in this
Was
Enron
it
and
the
I
Enron and was it
forgot.
also mortgages and stuff too, that they were
Yeah.
passing all those mortgages and the kids of people couldn't
Uh-huh.
afford them?
Well,
Sorry, you can tell
Enron was a
I told
little
her.
different because when they got busted, it kind of really had nothing to do with the stock market crash or anything like that. Like with the mortgage and that whole like stock market, Wall Street, like mortgages and all that. It had like nothing really to do with that. They were just hiding these numbers in their financial reports, and it was really bad. They're saying their loans was like income or something. It was something really weird. And it was weird how like not even anyone found out about it. It was
Hmm.
super weird how they did it. And I guess what is it? The IRS was like onto them and everything. And no one actually caught them. And it was,
Ooh.
anyways, they just pretty much, their financial statements were really, really bad. And so the Sarbanes-Oxley Act was to like prevent fraud.
To prevent people from doing
Yeah.
that, huh?
So it has a lot to do with financial statements,
Okay, that makes sense.
if that helps you. Financial statements and regulations.
So this wasn't because of mortgages. This is because Enron and their crazy
Uh-huh.
paper
Yeah.
financial statements that they
It's
did.
more with financial statements. And that's why it came about.
Okay.
Yeah, it passed pretty easy. I
Wow.
think you need more like CPA signatures, and I think it has to be like an exterior firm and something. I don't know. It can't be their own firm that's doing the papers.
Oh yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah, they have like a lot more regulations, and how they get incentivized. Like in the paper, it said that they had one good thing, that they can't like receive extra money through gifts or something like that.
Oh.
Because like if there was a huge firm and they're like, hey, we'll give you 100,000, just make sure you make the numbers look good. They can't like exchange gifts or anything like that. They have a lot of
that would be a bias.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
So that was in the
So
paper.
then, why do we think they passed that? I think you pretty much explained that very well.
I think it's still not perfect. I think if the government, I know this sounds like super bad. I don't think it would be nearly as efficient, and it would be kind of like on the opposite end. Like no one would care about, I don't know, maybe they would care. I don't know. But
What do
like
you
if
mean?
it was like government ran, like every CPA was now employed by the government.
Nope, we don't
I know
want
this,
that.
I know this sounds horrible, but there would be no incentive, technically speaking, for a
You're right.
company
There would be no incentive.
no incentive.
No incentive. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but that would be a nightmare. That would be a nightmare. But I understand where you're going with that with bias.
Yeah, with the bias.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see. I don't know. I'm not sure how. I mean, the universally accepted practices could always be improved.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, my example that I gave, my paragraph, was our auditing, the way our audits happen for the school district. Specifically, we have one auditing firm that comes in and performs an audit like twice a year. And they look at all sorts of things, but they also look at finance and procurement and that type of thing. But they also look like attendance and payroll and stuff like that. Kind of weird. But I think the reason they do that is because our finances, what we get paid is by student and by attendance. So I think that's why attendance is part of that. I actually didn't think about that until just now. That makes sense. But anyway, my point with all that, I'm sorry, is I went to a training. I've gone to a couple of trainings because they're trying to get me to where I can maybe move up eventually. And this trainer was talking about auditing firms and how if you've been with the same auditing firm more than 2 or 3 years, you need to change. You know, and I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. So then I went back and started talking to my group, and they're like, yeah, no, we've been with them for like 7 years, and we just did a invitation for a bid, which is where you go out and you have people bid for the job, and they got it again. So we have them for another 3 to 5 years, and it's like, oh, but I just learned this. They're like, shh, like, I don't know what that means, but okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the reason that the teaching that I went to, the training, I think the reason that you should change is because then any biases would be different, and things that maybe are not being corrected under this firm would be corrected by this firm. You know what I mean? Whereas if you stay with the same firm, they're only looking at the same things over and over and over, and maybe they're not looking at it from this angle, you know? And it could totally bite you in the butt if you're making a mistake and it's not being brought to your attention. And we rely on them to pick up on things, you know? And then the law is changing all the time. So we'll be doing things one day and then 6 months later, oh no. Like we just had our meal reimbursements change. It's completely different. It used to be by meal, like if you have 3 meals, you know, depending on what city you were, they had how much each meal you could use. And now it's you gather that all up together, and it's like that's what you get all day. It doesn't matter how you break it down. And then I don't know. There's all these crazy things that have changed. It's gonna hurt the school district because they're gonna be spending more money. Anyway, I'm totally off topic. I need to stop it.
No, it's a good example.
But yeah, so things change, and we're with the same firm. There are same auditors, so I'm thinking that probably should change. I don't know. That's my opinion. Just to protect us.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Did we cover that question?
Yeah, I think so.
Thanks, yeah.
Do you guys have 2 screens?
Yeah.
Or do you just have
I'm using my phone for the video, and then I'm using my computer for all the info.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
I want to do the video on my computer tonight.
That's awesome. Okay. Let's see. And then do you want to read the bullet number 3, somebody else?
Yeah, I'll read it. Okay, this article is specifically about auditors, but most of the studies are about human nature in general, and a few are specifically about lawsuits. Do you think the bias that was discovered for plaintiffs and defendants leads to a flawed legal system? Why or why not? Since lawyers are advocates for their clients, how much do you think lawyers are affected by bias? Does this create a flawed system? What are the advantages and disadvantages of a system where a lawyer is hired to advocate on behalf of her client?
Oh, that's interesting.
Well,
What's your opinion, Suzette? I see you're thinking.
No, I've heard of some cases where, well, yeah, the lawyer's supposed to be there defending whoever they are defending. And I've heard of some cases where there is a clear correct and wrong side, but the lawyer of the wrong side doesn't get all that information. And so they'll just be sitting there like defending their client and then realize, oh, wait, this probably is not the best case for me to have taken.
That's not good.
But still there to protect them, and they still want to get that case across because that's how they make their money.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Hmm. How about you, Dustin?
Hmm. Well, yeah, I think there's flawed. It's kind of flawed, but it's like the same thing with accounting and with auditing. Like a lot of this is just like everyone trying to be competitive. Everyone trying to be like, and part of competitiveness is like biasy, like trying to favor, trying to do the best they can do. Maybe
Not
it's
black
not the
and
most
white, huh?
ethical thing, but they're gonna, I think compete. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I think people like lawyers are gonna, yeah, they're gonna be biased with like a more richer client too. But I think
That
overall,
might be true. The more money you have, the more efficient lawyer you can hire
uh-huh.
sometimes, right? And so that they're better arguing their case. So that's kind of like a bias, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's gosh, all the famous people or you know, I can't think of other names, celebrities or high profile or rich people, I guess, can do that. But let's think about it. What if you have a lawyer that is defending someone from murder, but they think that they're guilty, but it's their job to defend them? But they think that they're guilty, or they know that they're guilty, but they can't say that. They have to defend them anyway. Would there be a bias that would come out? You
I
know?
don't I don't think there would be a bias that comes out. I know that sounds weird, but if I was a lawyer, I'm not and probably never will be. But if I was, like the law states like what to do in that situation is to do like your best. You know what I mean? So you're kind of just running off the laws of the land. Yeah, it's
You
not
are,
very
and I think the
ethical.
laws of the land are there to protect you a lot. But I, I could totally see somebody that maybe they will only defend those that are truly innocent, and all of a sudden they realize that this person is really, really guilty. It would be hard to do your very best 100% of the time during that case,
Yep.
knowing
Hmm.
what you know and with your own moral integrity, or somebody that's defending someone that's guilty and is okay with it and is going to try to get them off, they would be doing their very, very best for a paycheck or just because that's how they are. I don't know. I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
This is one of the reasons why I will never become a lawyer.
Never, never become a lawyer. I will never become a lawyer. That would be hard. How do you defend somebody if you know they're guilty? How do you do that? Especially how do you, I don't know. I guess that would be the same thing for auditors. And, how do you, when you know that there's something not quite right, that you maybe can't
But you
find
don't want
it,
to be fired.
and you don't want to
Yeah.
be fired, what do? That would be a tough one. So let's see. So do you think our system is flawed? I don't think it's flawed because I feel like the law, it's not completely black and white, but I think it is black and white enough that, what did we read somewhere? It was in this class where, oh, they would rather an innocent person not be charged than a guilty person go free. I'm totally blowing that quote.
That sounds familiar. Hold on.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Where it is
Yeah.
better to have a guilty person be found innocent than have an innocent person be found guilty. We
Yes.
read it somewhere this year.
Hmm.
So there was a
That is
little bit
true.
of a out, I think.
But that's still bias.
It is biased, but that's why. Would it be better for an innocent person to
I mean, I
be punished?
agree, but it's still a
Yeah,
biased statement.
you're exactly right. So does that mean our system is flawed? I don't know.
Well, they say that bias is built off your memories, your what you relate to. It's built off of what is it like relationship? Past memories.
Hmm.
They even had that one experiment where they like once they found out the details about it, they're like more into it. I thought that was interesting. And more in favor of that side. Yeah.
There's a lot of biases that could happen in the law.
Hmm.
Like if you are a lawyer and maybe you were abused as a child or who knows, and then you have a defendant or somebody you're prosecuting that happens to be a child abuser, you'd have a super big bias.
Well, a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
times the laws are kind of weird and biased sometimes too,
Hmm.
because like on these exams and stuff, it's like, well, the right thing, what I would do is like, this, but the law states otherwise. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that's biasy and on both the law part and our part.
Wow. Well, that was an interesting question.
Hmm.
Goodness gracious. Okay, so do you want to read the next one, Dustin?
Can you think of a situation outside of auditing where there are lots of opportunities for bias? What could you do to change that situation? Have we talked about this already or?
Not this one. I've got one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sports officials.
Okay.
I've totally seen it. I've totally seen it where they favor one team over another. Because guess what? I help keep scores and stuff at the high schools, and you can totally tell when the official likes the home team or the visiting team. You can tell. They make a lot of calls that favor one or the other. Most of the time it's not so bad, but once in a while it's just like, okay, this is really obvious. At least don't be obvious about it.
Uh-huh.
I know that's one situation, I think. You guys have one?
I think almost everything's biased.
Yep.
Like just even my dad's work.
What
Like
does he
some
do?
jobs, there'll be more bias on like fixing it up right than other jobs, depending on insurance companies, what they're willing to do. Even
Oh,
your insurance
wow.
company is biased too. Because if you complain, they'll fix it. And if you don't complain, they won't fix it. That's like a standard rule now. It used to
Because
not
it's a
be like that,
financial
but the
bias.
insurance companies are like that. So if you ever get in a wreck and you realize your door isn't fitting perfectly, it's probably because they have a generic part anyways, which is kind of weird. But they'll put like a fake generic part. It's not like a real nice, official part. It's like generic, so it's just stamped weird. They're never perfect. Anyways, they'll put it like on a brand new car, and the car like gap will be like off. And most people really don't care about what their gap is and stuff like that. And
And so they
so the
reap the
insurance companies
reward.
get away with it.
Wow. And they make more
But
money.
not unless you're being mean. So I don't know. Ethically, they should
Wow.
just do a good job the first time. It costs, maybe $100 difference. There really isn't that much. But since the insurance company can get away with it and people don't care about that sort of thing, they do get away with it.
Wow. All right, so
Anyway,
let's see. That was that one. Did you have one, Suzette? Do you have an example? Outside of
Not
the.
a specific one, but I think any opportunity has a place for bias in it just because we're human and we have our own opinions.
well, even students are sometimes biased all
Absolutely.
the time.
Absolutely.
We all laugh.
We're not biased. Not this group.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so if you're an accounting major, Dustin, what will you do about what you've learned from reading this article?
Uh, well, I've already like made up the decision because there's a lot of accountants that get thrown in jail. Like that is like accountants like if you go a little bad, you just get thrown in jail. Like I don't get it. And it's crazy because there's people in my ward, like I know people have like got thrown in jail just because they're fudging the numbers.
Oh, that's not good.
Dang. Anyways, what was I
Should it
gonna say
be?
about it? But like, yeah, like I think every accountant has to make the decision to be honest and to fudge the numbers.
You know what? My sister-in-law is pretty awesome. I had some long conversation with her because I don't know, I did something last semester and I had to use her as a subject. And so we did lots of interviews and I worked on her website and stuff. And she's like, people either really, really love you or they really, really hate you because she's really, really by the book, but she will explain, I guess it's called in layman's terms, why she is the way she is and why she follows the way she follows. And if someone wants someone that's good and honest, they stay with her and they'll be her client for life. But if someone is wanting their numbers fudged, not the word she used, I can't remember the word she used, but then they go elsewhere, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. So I think you can not fudge and just be honest. It would just be a constant battle, just like every day choosing the right. Every day, am I going to make all the right decisions today? Or, I don't know.
A lot of it's not black and white though. It's like the law. I think taxes are
Like
like that.
like that question, how there were 3 ways to come up with an answer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's even your inventory expenses, all that, there's like 3 or 4 ways of calculating it. And trying to figure out an expense is like really hard a lot of times.
I guess maybe you would have to figure out how you would do it across the board and then just do it the same way for all your clients. That way there wouldn't technically be a bias.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe. I mean, that might
But you
not
gotta
fit
figure
for
out
everyone.
that line.
Could still be a
That's
bias in which method you use, though.
So it could be. You're
as
right.
long as you're going by the book, I guess it's okay.
That's it. There's no hope.
It's over.
It's over.
That's what we should write down. There's no hope. We're all biased.
Oh
It's a
dear.
conspiracy.
Okay, so let's last one. Who's gonna read that one?
Why do you
I'll
think
read
it's so
it.
difficult to overcome bias, even when you know about it?
Oh. Anybody have a
Because
good
you want
answer
the
for that?
results to be a certain way and turn out that way that you want.
Because we want what we want when we want it because
Yep.
just because. I don't know. I think that's why it sounds very 5-year-old, but you know,
Well, why I think it's so difficult to overcome bias is because it's like our want.
it's
You want your
ingrained in us.
stock to do good. You want this tap and you want this. I think it's just personal want. Incentives.
You want the school district to be great. You want this team to win. You want
Mhm.
that child abuser in jail.
Yep.
I don't know. Crazy. Okay,
Okay.
that's crazy. This was eye-opening and kind of tough
Very,
at the same time. You know, I think sometimes we like to think of ourselves as like, well, me anyway. I'm gonna speak for myself. Like a really honest and upfront and kind of black and white. And yet, I read this article and I'm like, dang, where do I fit in here? Kind of open it up and review. Where are my biases and where do they lie? And are they right? Are they where they should be? Think there were any biases in Christ's day? I think there's a few.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, just like within our church, like if you're a member, non-member, if you're not a return missionary, not a return missionary, there's all these biases and
So
it's
true.
all that.
yeah.
That is so true.
So I don't know. It's even a problem in the church.
It really is. Oh my goodness.
We're
Yeah.
always we call it judging.
That's
There you
right.
go.
Oh my gosh. I don't
Yeah.
like to talk, but this would be a great talk.
Yeah.
No, 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 no talking in sacrament meeting. Oh my goodness. All right, so shall we work on our, shall we, oh, why don't we share what we wrote
Yeah.
in our individual? Did we do that?
Okay. Well, I gave the example of me being a cashier, and you gave an
Oh, okay.
example of, what was it? Auditing your
Yep.
school.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then Suzette gave an example of,
I kind of talked about it
I
earlier.
thought you did.
Yeah.
Okay. So we did share it. Never mind.
Yeah.
It's good. Okay.
All right, now let's write
So what are we going to write about?
what we've learned, right?
We're
Mm-hmm.
more biased than we think we are.
When your group is finished with the discussion, take 5 to 10 minutes to write a paragraph telling what was the most important or interesting insight. So what do we think was the most important or interesting insight? Maybe just realizing that.
When say anyone can be biased at any time.
Mm-hmm. Whoops, did I just do that? I am sorry. Oh, I'm totally
you're
messing it
okay.
up.
I can
You
fix
fix
it.
it? Let me just move my cursor because it is in the wrong place.
I can.
I thought I was pink, sorry. Okay. Oh yeah, I guess we should add our names, huh? I kind of liked, like what Suzette was saying and you were saying, how, I liked what you guys were saying about how bias exists everywhere and how it exists even in the church. And just, I think, being aware of that, maybe we could write something like that. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
I like that. Yeah.
Because that's kind of where we ended.
In there.
Mm-hmm.
Say that again?
I think we should put in there how Dustin said that sometimes bias could be called judging.
I love that. I agree. Right.
That was great.
How are we going to write? Shall we just start writing? In places such as, give us an example, grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
As a grocery store clerk.
Yeah, cashier.
Okay.
Clerk.
How about you, Suzette?
Put church members.
What was that?
Church members.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to type that in, or do you want me to do it, or? Got it. Good. very humbling to admit that these biases even exist. Whoops. And each one of us. What do you think about that?
I like it.
Mhm.
What else could we put? Maybe something along the lines of just like the daily struggle of choosing the right.
Uh-huh.
There's another struggle of living in a world without bias as an individual. I don't know how to write that, but that includes doing so without bias. This is another example, maybe, of, and change this, jump in, do whatever. Example of making this more personal, huh? How about we end this? This is another example of how we can do more Christ-like in our everyday.
How about something like, this is another example of how we can be more honest in our striving to be more like Christ.
Ooh, that's good. How we can be more honest and humble
as we strive to be like Christ.
We can battle these biases as they occur if we are honest and humble with ourselves, or if we
Not judgmental.
if we remain non-judgmental.
Yeah, non-judgmental.
Okay, no red line. No judgmental. Is that enough as a sentence, or should we add more to it?
That's good.
Non-judgmental and without pride. What do you think?
I like it, yeah.
Is that a large enough paragraph? Should we add more to it?
Hold on, I'm looking. I feel like we should put some kind of like general authority quote in there or something.
Oh, good idea.
I remember there was I think it was an Uchtdorf talk about judging others.
You know, I know I was pretty humbled recently. Yeah, I felt pretty strongly, and this is just personal, but I felt pretty strongly about some of our some people coming to our country as I can't think of the term, where they're fleeing their place and looking for refuge. So I guess they would be refugees. And they were coming from some of the more dangerous areas of the world as far as for Americans. And even though not all of them had our destruction in their head, they were just trying to truly, find refuge. But, we all know that there are people that aren't honest and aren't kind and would like to see us fall as, Americans and Christians and what have you. I had a hard time getting over that. And it's a very political thing right now. And until I heard our church leadership talk about it. So, I mean, that's a bias that I had, and it was pretty humbling to just admit that. Hi, Daddy. Hey, baby. Yeah. Sorry. That's okay. Hi.
Hi.
Bye, guys. Bye, guys. Give me a kiss. Love you. On out. Yeah. Hi. Go.
Hi.
Be good. Be good. That's my grandbaby. One of them.
Oh, so cute.
So little.
Anyway, I don't know. So I know
Okay,
that was like
here's
totally
something.
personal and totally not kind of on the subject, but I don't know. I have my bias smacked down.
Well, it says all we need is 5 to 10 minutes to write a paragraph.
Cool.
And you can't like write a huge paragraph in 5 or 10 minutes.
That's true.
Okay, I did find a quote by President Uchtdorf. It says,
Oh
but when
my
it
God.
comes to our own prejudice and grievances, we too often justify our anger as righteous and our judgment as reliable and only appropriate.
I like it. You want to cut, copy, and paste and put it in there?
Yeah. There's some more. I don't know if we want to add this other part in, but I like that first sentence. The rest says that we cannot look into another's heart. We assume that we know a bad motive or even a bad person when we see one.
Ooh, I like that
We
one.
make exceptions. We make exceptions when it comes to our own bitterness because we feel that, in case, we have all the information we need to hold someone else in contempt.
I like the second one more.
I like the second one a lot. I mean, I know this was
Okay,
we
here,
were
I'm
looking
going to
at
put that
business,
whole
but
thing in there and we can decide.
Okay.
Okay, so there it is. Put it in quotations. Boom. Okay, so take out what you like, leave in what you think we should leave in.
I think we can get rid of the first sentence.
I love the last sentence. I think the last sentence is fabulous. That is exactly what we were just kind of talking about. When it comes to our own bitterness, we feel that our cases, we have all the information we need. Then there's that primary song that
That
says,
is true.
in the quiet heart is hidden sorrow that the eye can't see. We never know what that person's gone through, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for doing that, Suzette. This is a really good
You're
idea.
welcome.
Okay. We could just probably keep the whole thing and just,
I was gonna say I don't think I have the heart to.
all right, we'll just block it. There we
I
go.
don't have the heart
Oh,
to
it's like a quote.
take it out.
Okay, it's called The Merciful Obtain Mercy. Now I just need to go back and reread that talk because it's a really good talk.
Very cool. Awesome.
Okay. So who's going to turn in this paper?
I can turn it in. I'm sorry that Pencil isn't able to make it. Let's see. Is this how you do it? I don't think we blocked that. I think we can.
It's super easy to turn it in. I could do it.
You want to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I prefer it just so I know it like gets done right.
Okay. Because I think if you
think I
stop the
have it.
recording, you can. Oh wait, we don't need to do the recording, do we? I mean,
Do
as
we need
far
the
as.
Lincoln?
Yeah, I
Do
think
we
we
put the
do.
link in? Okay. That's what I was wondering.
Oh yeah, we should probably put the link in. Oh, I could do it later. I'll just do everything later.
Are you
I'll
sure?
put it in. Yeah,
Okay.
I got like the assignment's like right there. Yeah, everything's like it's super easy.
Okay. Then
It'll take me like 2 minutes.
thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right. Is there anything else we need to cover, do you think?
I think we're fine.
How'd you guys do on the exam? You guys doing all right?
Yeah.
Especially now that a few things were dropped, right? Good. Destin, did you mute your microphone? You got really quiet. He must have because he's typing. Oh, he can't.